I'm going to read you a story from my book, Answer to Happiness. This story is called The Visitor. The morning routine was chaotic as usual. I was the first one up and dressed, and then it was a rush to get the kids up. Two of them had to be woke up more than once. I had to find everyone's clothes that I told them to get ready the night before. I looked for a second pair of shoes because the day before I forgot to wash the ones covered in mud. The kids grabbed their unfinished homework and then they shoved papers in my face that they needed signed that morning. I searched all over for a brush, and the only brush I could find was the dog's. For a minute, I considered using it. Then, in a flash of insight, I ran to the car and found a brush. The kids were complaining they were hungry. I shoved food at them and said, "Hurry up, you don't have time to goof off." And one by one, I herded them out the door to the bus stop. Usually, after that, I would have immediately dove into the housework and my to do list. But that day, I just collapsed on the couch and gave a huge sigh of relief. It was so quiet, so nice. Then, in the stillness, I heard a quiet yet persistent tapping on the door. Who could possibly be at my house that early in the morning? I was in no condition to receive visitors. I didn't even have makeup on yet. I glanced around the room, evaluating how someone else would judge my mess. How embarrassing! And the knocking continued. I decided to peek out and see who it was before I decided what course of action to take. Barely moving the curtain, I caught a glimpse of my visitor. Jesus Christ! I jumped back. My mind raced. Jesus Christ himself was standing on my front porch. This was worse than I had imagined. I didn't want the perfect Son of God to see what a mess I was. Maybe if I were really quiet, he would think no one was home and just go away. I felt relieved, but after a moment I had another thought. How long had he been there already? Had anyone seen him there? What would the neighbors think if I didn't let Christ in? I couldn't leave him standing out there for the whole world to see. I had to let him in, but I needed to clean up first. I took a quick look around the front room. You know, the room in the front of the house where everyone enters, but not many are invited beyond. Since this is what I let people see, I kept it together pretty good. I quickly adjusted the family picture on the wall, dusted off the scriptures, tossed the toys and dirty clothes into the next room, and swept a few things under the rug. Looks presentable, I thought, but as I reached for the door, I froze. What if he wanted to come into the rest of the house? It wasn't just a mess, it was a disaster. I took a quick mental tour. The kitchen was overflowing with dirty dishes and garbage. The bathroom hadn't been scrubbed in months. The door to the laundry room couldn't even close. All of the bedrooms were horrible. The family room was chaotic. Every surface was covered with insignificant clutter. There were cobwebs in every corner. Everything was covered with dust. There were skeletons in the closet. There was old baggage laying around everywhere. The deeper you dug, the worse it got. I couldn't leave Jesus standing on the porch, but I couldn't let him see what a mess my life was. Then I remembered I have free will that he would never violate. He would only come in as far as I let him. We would have a quick chat. I'd make up an excuse of why I couldn't visit longer, and then he would be on his way. I plastered a huge smile on my face, opened the door, and invited Christ in. We exchanged a few pleasantries as I tried to think of a polite way to cut our visit short. "Well," I said, "thanks for stopping by. I have a lot to do today, and I'm sure you're really busy." He answered unhurriedly, "I'm in no rush. I have nothing more important to do. If you don't mind, I'd like to stay with you. I can help you with whatever you're doing." I was cornered, and I was afraid. How could I get out of this? He looked into my eyes, and I knew he saw right through me. Gently he said, "You have let me in, but not really. We both know that you have always kept me at a distance. Our relationship has always stayed on the surface. It's okay to surrender completely." I couldn't hide anymore. I hung my head. "I am so ashamed," I cried. "My life and my family's lives are such a mess. I really wanted to make you proud, but I have failed miserably. If I had more time, maybe I could fix it." "My child," he said, "you have been doing it without me your whole life. You have worn yourself out, and still you don't have much to show for it. Besides, you missed out on a lot of happiness along the way." That was certainly true. "Okay," I surrendered. "Go ahead, but don't be shocked by what you see." He laughed as he shook his head. "You realize I know your thoughts. There's no part of your life I don't already know about." He lifted up the rug, and to my surprise, it was completely clean underneath. Everything I had swept under the rug only minutes ago was completely gone. He winked at me and said, "Don't be shocked by what you see." I held my breath as we walked to the kitchen. I was so ashamed of my life, and I was sure he would be disappointed. But as we entered the dingy, disgusting kitchen, it miraculously transformed into a peaceful, glorious place, full of light and love. I was astonished. We went through the whole house. No judgment from Jesus, no criticism. Every room he entered was bathed in his love, washed by his blood. Years of encrusted filth evaporated, as if it had never been there. All the cupboards, all the closets, under every bed, every part of my life was made perfect by Christ. In amazement, I said, "I can't believe I didn't do this sooner." "Neither can I," he laughed. "Not only are you not meant to clean up your own life, it's impossible to get it perfect without me." "How about if you just move in?" I asked. "It would be so nice to have you with me all the time." So Jesus Christ moved in and became my constant companion. No matter how dirty my home had been before, he made everything spotless, immaculate. Now I no longer live in shame. I still mess things up sometimes, but not on purpose. And whereas before I would look at my mess and feel bad about myself, with Christ it is cleaned up even before it hits the floor. He is knocking on your door. Invite Christ in and let him cleanse you. No matter how hard you work, you can't do it without him.